The Archaic period in Greek history, spanning approximately from the 8th century BCE to the early 5th century BCE, marks a pivotal era of transformation and development. This period is characterized by the establishment of city-states, polis, extensive colonization, and significant advancements in Greek art and architecture. These developments laid the foundation for the subsequent classical period, profoundly influencing the trajectory of Greek civilization. The establishment of city-states, polis. Emergence and structure. The emergence of city-states during the Archaic period was a gradual process, influenced by various socio-political and economic factors. By the 8th century BCE, the Greek world had moved away from the isolated village communities of the Dark Ages, transitioning towards more complex and organized urban centers. These city-states, or polis, became the fundamental political units of ancient Greece, each functioning as an independent entity with its own government, laws, and customs. The typical structure of a polis included an urban center, often fortified, surrounded by agricultural land. The Acropolis, a high, fortified area within the city, served as a religious and defensive hub. The Agora, an open space used for assemblies and markets, became the focal point of public life. Politically, city-states varied from oligarchies, where power was concentrated in the hands of a few, to early forms of democracy, as seen in Athens. Political and social organization. The political organization of city-states evolved significantly during the Archaic period. Initially, many were ruled by monarchies or oligarchies, but increasing social and eco-conclusion. Nomic changes led to the rise of tyrannies. These were not necessarily oppressive regimes but rather governments led by individuals who seized power, often with popular support, to implement reforms and address social grievances. The social structure of the city-states was hierarchical. The aristocracy, comprising wealthy landowners, held significant power and influence. Below them were the free citizens, including farmers, artisans, and merchants. Non-citizens, such as metics, resident foreigners, and slaves, formed the lower strata of society. Despite these divisions, the concept of citizenship and civic participation was central to the identity of the polis. Military innovations. The Archaic period also saw the development of the hoplite phalanx, a new military formation that played a crucial role in the defense and expansion of city-states. Hoplites, heavily armed infantry soldiers, fought in tightly packed ranks, providing mutual protection with their shields. This formation required discipline and cooperation, reinforcing the communal ethos of the polis. Colonization. Motivations for colonization. Greek colonization during the Archaic period was driven by a combination of factors, including population growth, economic opportunities, and political pressures. As the population of city-states increased, arable land became scarce, prompting many Greeks to seek new territories. Additionally, the desire for trade and access to resources, such as metals and fertile land, motivated exploration and settlement. Establishment of colonies. Greek colonies were established across the Mediterranean and Black Sea regions, from the Iberian Peninsula in the west to Asia Minor in the east. These colonies were not merely extensions of the parent city-state but were independent entities with their own political structures. However, they maintained cultural and religious ties with their metropolis, often replicating the social and political institutions of their parent city. Prominent colonies included Syracuse in Sicily, Massalia, modern-day Marseille, in France, and Byzantium, later Constantinople, now Istanbul, at the entrance to the Black Sea. These colonies played a crucial role in the spread of Greek culture, facilitating trade and cultural exchange between Greece and other civilizations. Impact on trade and economy. The establishment of colonies significantly boosted Greek trade and economic development. Greek merchants gained access to new markets and resources, such as grain from the Black Sea region, wine and olive oil from the Mediterranean, and luxury goods from the Near East. The increased flow of goods and wealth contributed to the prosperity of city-states and supported the growth of a wealthy merchant class. Development of Greek art and architecture. Early Archaic art. The Archaic period witnessed significant developments in Greek art, marked by a transition from the geometric styles of the earlier Dark Ages to more naturalistic and sophisticated forms. This period is characterized by the emergence of the Koros and Kor statues, which depicted youthful male and female figures. These statues, often used as grave markers or offerings to the gods, exemplified the Greek interest in human anatomy and proportion. The Koros figures were typically depicted standing in a rigid, frontal pose, with one leg slightly forward and arms at the sides. They were often nude, emphasizing the idealized male form. In contrast, Kor figures were clothed and stood in a similar frontal pose but were more detailed in their depiction of clothing and accessories. Architectural innovations. Greek architecture also saw significant advancements during the Archaic period, with the development of distinct architectural orders and monumental structures. The Doric and Ionic orders, characterized by their unique column designs and proportions, emerged during this time. The Doric order, the earliest and simplest, featured sturdy columns with plain capitals and no bases. The Parthenon in Athens, although built later during the Classical period, is a prime example of the Doric order's influence. The Ionic order, more slender and ornate, included columns with scroll-like capitals, volutes, and bases. The Temple of Hera on the island of Samos and the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus are notable examples of Ionic architecture from the Archaic period. Temples and sanctuaries. The construction of temples and sanctuaries dedicated to the gods became a prominent feature of the Archaic period. These structures were not only religious centers but also symbols of civic pride and identity. Temples were often adorned with sculptural decorations, including friezes and pediments depicting mythological scenes. One of the most significant architectural projects of the Archaic period was the Temple of Hera at Olympia. This temple, built around 600 BCE, showcased the early use of monumental stone architecture and served as a model for later temple designs. Vase painting. Vase painting also flourished during the Archaic period, with the development of black figure and red figure techniques. Black figure pottery, which emerged around 700 BCE, involved painting figures in black silhouette against a red clay background. Details were incised into the black surface, revealing the red beneath. This technique allowed for greater detail and complexity in the depiction of human figures and scenes. By the late 6th century BCE, the red figure technique was developed, reversing the black figure method. Figures were left in the natural red color of the clay, while the background was painted black. This technique allowed for more fluid and naturalistic depictions of human anatomy and movement. Prominent vase painters, such as Exekias and Euphronios, produced masterpieces that depicted scenes from mythology, daily life, and athletic competitions. These vases not only served practical purposes but also functioned as works of art that reflected the cultural and social values of the time. The Archaic period was a transformative era in Greek history, marked by the establishment of city-states, extensive colonization, and significant advancements in art and architecture. The development of the polis as the fundamental political unit laid the groundwork for the democratic institutions of the Classical period. Greek colonization expanded the reach of Greek culture and facilitated economic growth through trade and resource acquisition. In the realm of art and architecture, the Archaic period saw the emergence of naturalistic sculpture, the development of distinct architectural orders, and the creation of monumental temples and sanctuaries. These achievements reflected the growing complexity and sophistication of Greek society. Overall, the Archaic period was a time of dynamic change and innovation, setting the stage for the cultural and political achievements of the Classical period and leaving a lasting legacy on the history of Western civilization.